July 21st, 2009. Calling Darrell Sweeney. He is the person who found the mystery glyph panel in Tilden Park, California in 1954.
Hello?
Hello, is Darrell there?
Yes, this is he.
Darrell, this is Terry Carter. I don't know if I've got the right Darrell Sweeney or not, but the reason I'm calling is I'm looking for a man that found a hieroglyph panel site in Tilden Park in California in 1954. Would that be you?
That is I, but how in the world would you have ever heard of that? Now, wait, this is one of those, is this the start of a Twilight Zone episode?
Yeah, yes, it is.
All right, okay, that is I, to be specific, yes. Now, what in the world, I mean, even counting for the unbelievable event that you have that article and that you remember it all these years, then what's the next step in all this?
Well, let me tell you my step in this. In about 1989, 1990, somewhere around there, I was hiking clear in high in the cliffs of the mountains east of Provo, Utah, and I stumbled onto a hieroglyphic set that, man, looked like something I'd never ever seen before. And so I did all the research to try and figure out what it was, and I found that you'd found one. And to date, I've tracked down that there's 25 of these sites scattered throughout the western United States. And that's why I'm just calling. I'm just trying to track down the people that found these and just want to kind of get your memory of finding them and what they looked like, and just kind of a little bit of a history of your finding them.
Okay, well, I was a student at Berkeley there, and almost every afternoon I'd get in my little 39 Plymouth coupe and drive up behind the campus up into the hills there, and there was a lot of open land up there that belonged to the university, and I'd sit down there and study outdoors. Just one of the pleasant things that I've ever done. So I did all my studies outdoors. And there were all these kind of rocks and things that I'd sit next to and covered with lichens and all. And one day I must have gone there dozens and dozens of times before I noticed this sort of a patterned incision in the rock. Now, and one on a given rock there might be one or two of them, and then I'd look around and I found some more. So I traced them, and the ones I remember now, there was one that it looked kind of like it's that swastika symbol, but making a circle, sort of a curved circular swastika.
Uh-huh.
There was one that looked like just a sketch of a longhorn bull. It was just one sort of down curving, then up curving line that would be the horns, and then two eyes, I remember, and then sort of a smiley smile or something. No, more like a chin underneath it there. There's one that looked like a cow, and now let's see, what other ones? Dang. I did not keep these tracings, but they looked to be quite old because the lichens had grown over them, and they're fairly slow growing, you know. So I went down to the anthropology department and found two presumed experts on California Indians, and if I really dredged, I might come up with their names, but Heilbrunner. I suppose if I looked at a catalog.
I think it's probably in this newspaper article.
Maybe. Well, first I went down there and I showed them these tracings, and they every time I've gone to experts, I get scoffed at.
Yep.
A repeat pattern. And I walk in, and he looked and I said, "Oh, well, that's nothing." He said, "Well, yeah, we find those things. It's the Rosicrucians. They keep drawing these things on rocks, and then they come back and try and prove that the world started there," or something like that. And now I don't know what has ever happened to the Rosicrucians, but they used to be on the backs of all sorts of magazines. It was some kind of.
Uh-huh.
So I was crestfallen. I went out of there. Well, these things are nothing. So then, maybe a week later or so, I get a call from one of these professors, and they say, "Sweeney, now we've been thinking about this, and this we're more interested in that. Could you come in and drive us up and show us this. And I said, well, sure. So I go in there, and there's also this newspaper reporter who was he was a piece of work. He was just this talkative guy, and he was sort of like your ultimate insider. This is irrelevant to the day.
Yeah.
But he was telling all these great stories he'd been on about this bandit they're looking for that sneaks into buildings, steals things, and then leaves a pile of defecation on the floor and disappears. And so he thought this was funny, and he's telling us the story, and so I said, well, now, do you want me to drive? Or my car's not very big. And the reporter says, no, I have wheels. I've never heard that slang, you know.
Yeah.
But Mr. Inside.
Yeah.
We go up there, and we start, I start leading him down there, and this reporter said, oh, come on, this is too far. I'm worried, you know, and there's poison oak around here. He was just, almost like in a movie where you got that one guy that's afraid and objecting, the slacker, sort of.
Yeah.
Anyway, we get to these things, and they start looking at it and say, you know what I think these are, and here you're going to think maybe they were wrong again, that these are Spanish land demarcation lines. That these are the between the different grazing lands back when the Spanish had the great haciendas, you know, before the Bear Flag rebellion, before the Anglos got out there. These might be just little marks to say who owns the grazing rights to these lands. Although this wasn't great grazing land because it was quite hilly. So that's what they thought they were, and they were sort of interested in them, and that's the last I heard of, except then my picture appears in the paper, which is really surprising.
So that was the anthropologist that thought maybe it was the land grants for the Spanish?
Yeah.
And so they figured they was, 100, 200 years old back then, or?
Yeah, that would be, well, let's see, when you think 1850, somewhere before 1850, yeah.
So they looked old enough to them then at the time that they thought that they was put there sometime before 1850.
Yeah. I suppose there are scientific ways of determining I'm not sure exactly how, but determining the age of these things.
Yeah, I don't really.
I've been back there. I left in '59, so I've been back a few times and drove up that way. It's now fenced off and it's some kind of ecological research area. So I've never attempted to find the place again. It might take me a little doing.
Uh-huh.
I noticed that the world changes over the years.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I could find them again.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if I really put some time into it, I could, and got the permission from the campus there, I surely could find it. I wonder if there's any more to that story. If I could come up with those professors' names, they might have, well, or just the anthropology department, whoever's their Indian, California Indian.
Uh-huh.
I think he'd be worth interviewing, and he.
Okay.
I can't be the only one that's found them. I mean, it's not that hard to do. You just have to be sitting next to these rocks that are, they're only about, 3 feet.
Yeah, I think back, they found another site in that area, maybe a year before or a year after you found yours, possibly. I don't know if you knew about it, but apparently the one of the newspapers back there, maybe Los Angeles Chronicles, one of them back then, anyway.
Los Angeles is quite a distance, but.
Well, anyway, it was a Chronicle, something Chronicle. Anyway, they was having a.
San Francisco Chronicle.
Yeah, that's probably what it was. They was having they took a chest and they put $1,000 in it and they went and hid it and then they gave all the clues in their newspaper to where to find this.
I remember that. That was the Emperor Norden search. That was was that something? Yeah.
Well, anyway, some guy that was looking for that stumbled onto one of these sites.
No kidding.
Yeah, I got a newspaper article of that. So, anyways, to date, I've tracked down that there's 25 of these sites scattered throughout the western United States. They're in California, Utah, Idaho, Arizona, New Mexico, Nevada. anyways, and who knows what they are? They look like they're possibly done by the same person or same couple of people, all neatly inscribed in rocks, kind of in out of the way places, and they're just a big mystery. There's been certain people in different areas where they've been found that have thought that they've done that they were for different things. Like there's a site in up north in California by Mount Shasta that those people there thought that they was put there by the Lemurians. The Lemurians is kind of a story like Atlantis. Their continent sunk, and they say they escaped there to Mount Shasta and left these symbols there. And then there's a story in Utah where somebody thought that these were telling where the gold plates of their Book of Mormon was buried, and so there's a big story about that. And then there's some people that think that these was done by the hippies in the 1960s. And then there's every town where these are found have their own little story, but nobody really knows, nobody really knew that all these were interconnected, and who knows what they are, how old they are, or anything like that.
Oh my word, okay, you have just a wonderful quest there. This is really something that, I envy you to just have this mystery to pursue. My word.
It's a huge mystery. I've put together a little website on I'm just starting to put some things on it now. I've put a few stories of some of the stories that I've tracked down of a couple of the local ones in Utah, but I'm still, going to add a little bit more here and there to it. But
do you have tracings or photographs of the?
Oh yeah. If you go to mystery, do you got the internet and the computer?
Oh yeah.
If you go to mysteryglyphs.com.
Glyphs, and that's spelled with a Y, isn't it?
Yeah.
L-Y-P-H.
Yeah. Mysteryglyphs.
Yeah.
.com. I have some photos of them, photos of probably 10 or 15 of them there.
Huh.
In fact, there's a site in Utah, Manti, Utah, that's real similar to the site that you found.
Well,
the exact same characters, except for the one in except for the ones in Manti doesn't have the swastika, but it has all the other, the Egyptian Ankh, all the other. Or let's see, no, that's the other set that was found, the Egyptian Ankh one. That's the other side, I believe. That's not the one that you found, was it?
I don't remember anything like that because I might not have known what an Ankh is then. Wasn't all that
okay.
advanced then, but
so I guess I've got a photocopy of a newspaper article, but it's not really all that clear. I guess you probably don't have any clippings or anything like that I could get a good copy of from you or anything, would you?
No, all I have is in a scrapbook that picture of me in that article, and there were no pictures of the glyphs in it.
Would it be possible to get a copy of that from you?
Sure. Oh yeah. I'll just photocopy it. It's pretty old. Well, I can contrast it up in Photoshop. Darn, I was just out in California visiting my two sons out there in the San Francisco Bay Area. So I don't have any plans yet. But the next time I'm out there, I think I'll make a real effort to go find those.
Yeah, if you know what, if next time you plan to go out there, if you could give me a call and let me know and see if I could go out there and meet you, then I'd like to get a photo with you, how many years later, 50 years later, with you. And
this is really so oh gosh, I hope you can get to the bottom of this.
I've been trying for 15, 20 years, and I don't think I ever will. It's a big mystery. There's all kinds of, theories and speculation, and there's some wild theories and speculations, and there's been a lot of mystery to it, but who actually done these or why and what time period, I've tracked down they're at least 100 to 150 years old. There's no question of that. They're at least that old. But how much older? Some people say they're thousands of years old. Some people say, they're modern. Some people say these was done to perpetrate a hoax. Some people say, but who knows? These are off the beaten trail. They're neatly, painstakingly carved. The sites that they're at are kind of unique. A lot of them, I don't know about yours, but a lot of these sites, there's usually some kind of like a shelter there, a little cave or a little rock overhang, just kind of some kind of a small shelter.
Well, not too far from there in Tilden Park is what do they call it? It's kind of a hole up in a rock cliff, and Indians supposedly went up there. I forget what they called it, but it's not real close to the drawings. But then who knows? There might be a lot of drawings up there that people haven't noticed.
Yeah. So, anyways, it's a big mystery, and man, I'd love to find out someday, but I don't think we'll ever know. I mean, it's one person or a couple people that's traveled, because you measure these things, they're all about it's like the same handwriting. It's like it's the same person, or the same, maybe even 2 or 3 different people, maybe, but they've traveled all across the Western United States. They've left this message for whatever reason, and it's a huge mystery, but don't know that I'll ever figure it out.
Well, but there are clues in there. Certainly the, whatever you call it, the iconography, the things they draw, for instance, has got to have some meaning. I mean, they're not just useless doodles. There's got to be some...
No, they're not. It's definitely a language. It's definitely saying something. It's definitely not on the beaten path. I mean, this isn't on the regular trails. They could have picked nice boulders on a regular trail. These are usually high up in the mountains. They're kind of inconspicuous places. They're
broken enough hills that you wouldn't be going through.
And so somebody went out of their way to carve these, but they didn't want a lot of people to see it for some reason. So it's not like they're travel markers. It's not like they're leaving messages for somebody else to find, because they're off the beaten path, So who knows what it means?
Oh boy, this is beautiful. This is what a great thing to do. Okay, well I will. Sure look at your website here, and I'll keep you in mind here. Next time I get to California, I'll give you plenty of warning. And my word, I'm just absolutely bowled over by this. Have I done anything else like that I could expect a call for? No, I don't think so. I'll be done. Well, I can't tell you how exciting this is to me, and I really appreciate you going to all this effort to find me after all these years. Well,
cool. I just wanted to know the story of you finding it and kind of what it looked like. If it looked, old back then, if it had lichens or whatnot in them, and anyways. So
very good.
I appreciate you talking to me. And if you could get me a copy of that article you got, or write me down any thoughts on them and email it to me, man, I'd really appreciate that.
Oh, will do. Yeah.
And any questions you have, like I said, I've tracked these down for 15, 20 years, and I've got all kinds of information on them, stories, talking with different people, and I've written a few stories of one of the more famous sites where there was some deaths here in Utah, because there was some deaths involved and some different things, and I wrote a little story about them. But you can see that on my website.
Well, the anthropologists have kind of a dim view, or at least the ones I've talked to, a dim view of the Mormons, that they claim the Mormons are always changing things around to try and make Indian relics fit with their...
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know how you fit into that, but...
Well, that's what they said about these two, that they was done by the Mormons to help perpetrate their hoax, or help bolster up their Book of Mormon. But, if that's true, somebody went through the trouble to travel all across the Western United States in the 1800s to perpetrate a hoax that never came out. There was nothing ever said about this. It wasn't till in the 60s when a man... And you'll read this on my website, till a man came to Fillmore, Utah, where there's a site, and he figured that had to be to deal with the Book of Mormon and that, and so he got a lot of people in to invest in him, and he tried to find what he was looking for, but that's the only site he really knew of. He didn't know of all the others. The hoax never came out for all these others.
Yeah, you can't have a hoax without it being revealed. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, why go through the trouble of traveling all across the western United States, leaving these, marking these, I mean, it had to take a long time to travel all across the western United States on horseback and to find the spot and then carve these and then never reveal the hoax, so.
Okay, well, I'll send you copies.
Well, I really appreciate that. And I'm glad I tracked you down.
Well, I am too. I'm just absolutely thrilled here. Okay, Terry. Well, just don't give up. I mean, you've got.
No, I'm not. Yeah, I'm not giving up. It's a mystery. It's an adventure, and it's something to keep me out of trouble.
Well, I think we all need that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for looking me up here, and I'll be sending you this thing soon.
Well, I thank you.
Yeah. Very good.
Have a great day.
You too. Yeah. Bye now.
Bye.